I should know what day it is. All right, welcome to the Anyone Can Farm live chat. I'm your host, Mark, and I'm coming to you from Baker's Green Acres in lovely Marion, Michigan. If you don't know where that is, Michigan's shaped like this, and we're right about right here. So they say that we're in northern lower Michigan, right? So anyway, today's April 15th, 2022, and I know that day very well because it's my birthday. And I turned 62 today, and I can't believe it. 62. Justin's with us. Welcome. All right, so I'm not real prepared for tonight. Normally we do open line Friday, but I think what would be smart to do tonight is don't look a day over 50. Yeah, well, thanks. Well, I guess that's good, I guess that's good. We were talking tonight about it, and I said to the kids, thank you. Hey, Inga. I said, I never really considered being 60 years old, or 62 even. I never really even considered it. And so we started having a discussion about age. And I said, well, if I was going to live to 100, then I got 38 more years left. Is that right? Yeah. So, but what if I program myself and I say, no, I'm going I want to go 200. And then all the regenerative cells in my body are saying, well, it looks like there's been a change of plans here. We're going to 2. Because maybe they just tell us that, well, the average age is 74 years old in the United States. And so we're thinking, well, okay, 74. And so you start thinking that, and you kind of program yourself. And then you think, well, if you go over that, then, well, this is old age, and old age sucks. So your life sucks. But maybe it doesn't have to be that way. Maybe you could kind of start thinking, well, if I'm going to buy a pair of shoes, maybe I ought to get 2 pairs, or whatever, like that. Anyway, I've had that thought process. I think it was Janine that said something like, we probably have more time than we think. And she was talking about a lot of the, technologies that have been kept from us. A lot of the hidden knowledge about humanity has been kept from us. So maybe we actually can live longer if we want to. I'd like to. I'm just saying, I would miss everybody, but then I think of the people that I know that have gotten old and died. By the time they died, it was sort of like, well, they weren't having much fun anyway. But you never know. Never know how things are going to go. But anyway, for now, I'm 62 and loving life. I got a lot of things I want to do this summer. My priorities have changed slightly because a couple things have happened, and you just have to remain fluid. And there were some things that I really wanted to do that now it's like, well, maybe they're not going to happen. And if they're not going to happen, I'm okay with that. All right. So like one of the things I'll tell you right now was we wanted to build a store. And right now, the guy that saws for us has no logs, right? And he's calling around trying to get logs. And, I would have liked to have that all in place already and be, assembling it right now. And so we're already behind schedule. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, because the way that we are operating right now is I put a refrigerator right outside the shop, and it's right on the driveway. So a person can pull down and they can get out, get what they need, and go. And we can reload it constantly. And that little refrigerator has turned a few bucks, I'll tell you that. And it's not like anybody has to stop, go in a store and things like that. That would be nice because then you can have other stuff in there. You could have like this right here. If you haven't seen these are a hot item. This is the official Baker's Green Acres handmade. My daughter-in-law made this. Does a real nice job on it. Oh, by the way, tomorrow's seed sharing day. So 10 o'clock tomorrow, anybody that wants to can come to the farm. Don't bring your dogs. You can bring your your family members, and we're going to have a little potluck around noon 30. But 10 o'clock is when we're going to start, and it's just a time to swap some seeds and tell some yarns and just have fun. And it's only going to go till afternoon, a little while after. I don't know when people file out. I think last time it went a little longer than we thought of, but we got to talking, and it's not like we kicked anybody out. But it's not a paid event or anything like that. It's just a time to get together and have some fun. If you can't bring anything, don't worry about it. Just bring yourselves. Maybe a lawn chair would be a good idea because I think we're limited on chairs, and I don't really know how many people we're going to have. I really don't. I think in registration terms is like 20 people, but you never know. You never know. All right. Vindicti's with us. Sean's with us. DeClerc's with us. Thank you for the happy birthday wish. Yeah, and these mugs are going to be on sale tomorrow. We can't swap these unless you got something to swap, but you'd be swapping Colleen, so it better be something she wants. If you're swapping me, then it would be, something I want. And we're going to have some biochar out. We're going to have 3 grades. We're going to have uninoculated. However, it actually is inoculated. We've inoculated with H2O. Okay. And we're doing that because we feel as though to leave it raw is to invite something else to move in. And we don't want to do that. And that's as close to raw as we're going to get, unless you really want raw, and then you'll have to come a day when we're grinding it up and get it that day. And then we've got inoculated with our special compost tea inoculant with a little bit of molasses in it to sweeten it up a little bit if you want to feed it to your chickens. You don't need to give them much, but it will really help them out a lot, keep them from getting coccidiosis. And then there is the 50-50 mix. So it's 50% biochar and 50% compost. And that can be really broken down even further than that, right? Kaz versus Wild is with us. Hey, Mark. It's your birthday. Mine was on the 10th. How old are you, Kaz? Let me guess. 63. No, you're younger than me. I know that. All right. Okay, so I thought what we'd do, let's combine Open Line Friday with a recap of Pastured Poultry. There are some things that I did not cover yet that I think it'd be good to go over right now, and we're just going to hit the high points on them, okay? Just going to hit the high points. Okay, so at the beginning of the week, we just talked about why Pastured Poultry and how it becomes a good fit for the homesteader, how it's a good sale item. People really like them. We didn't really discuss price on them, and I don't know I don't know as I really want to discuss that right now because I haven't looked at the numbers and things have really changed. Right, we bought feed and it's a lot different this year than it was last year. So before I go talking about numbers, I should have my numbers in front of me, and I really don't. We talked about watering systems. We talked about brooding systems. I told you about how I did it. And I still keep seeing pictures of people with these electric light brooders. And my only concern is that you do not have that in a barn or a building that you sleep in, because they're notorious for starting fires. Okay. And Dickie says, my son turns 2 next week. He's catching up on you guys. All right. Let's talk a little bit about avoiding disaster avoidance. One of the things that we haven't not talked about is predation. All right. We did a video, Joe and I did a video last week about predation. It just so happens I had a freshly dead possum that we could show and talk about that. Okay, so where I live, it's fairly rural, and there's a lot of wildland around me that is not farmed, and it's just woods, and there's a lot of wildlife. So we have coyotes, we have foxes, we have mountain lions. Saw one. I saw one. My wife's uncle saw one. My wife's mom saw one, and that woman don't lie, right? My daughter Dorothy saw one. She was with me when we saw the one that we saw. So they're here, but I don't think they present a real problem to us. Not that I've seen them up around the house or even seen tracks across the road. The one we saw was across the road, and he was sauntering off away from us. Right. Our biggest problem is skunks and possums. Yeah. Number 3 would probably be owls, great horned owls. Number 3 in total kills, I would say, would probably be foxes. And it's not foxes, it was just one fox. Okay, so we did this for quite a long time before we had our Great Pyrenees dogs. And it was not good. And I'll tell you how we got the Great Pyrenees. I went to a small farms conference, and Daniel Salatin, who is Joel's son, was a speaker in one of the blocks. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to do pastured poultry again because it was so bad. We would go out there in the morning, you'd have the night before just beautiful chickens. You're looking at them thinking, oh, this is going to be great. And we're going to get those processed in a couple of days. And this is working out really good. They're nice and healthy looking. And you go out there in the morning and it's just feathers and heads ripped off and just terrible. Raccoons will pull a foot through and gnaw it off. It's bad. So all right. So I went up to Daniel Salatin after his block on pastured poultry, and I said, you know what? I'm getting ready to not do this because predation is so bad. It's killing my morale. My kids don't even really want to help me anymore because it's just I get so mad, and and at the time when I did talk to him, we had already gone to Jay's Sporting Goods and looked at scopes, night vision scopes. I was going to put one on my gun, and I really didn't want to because I don't want to be up at night with a gun. And but I thought, well, that's what you got to do if we're going to make this happen. And my thought process was, if we knock enough of them down, we'll be able to continue. That was probably wrong thinking because there's so many wild animals in the woods. If you make a vacuum of wild animals, you're going to have other ones move in. So that was probably not going to work. I just got a big whiff of skunk. And so anyway, I talked to Daniel, and he says, "You need a dog," like that. That's how he said it. "You need a dog." And I said, "What do you mean a dog? I got a dog." He says, "No, you need a livestock guardian dog." I said, "I never heard of them." And he says, "Oh, that's just a classification. There's many of them. You know, you got Great Pyrenees, you got Anatolian Shepherds, you get da da da. There's a bunch of them. Those are the only two that I can really think of right now. The only two that I could even pick out of a lineup." And so I contemplated that. I came home and I had a customer that was a big dog breeder. And I called her and I said, "Does anybody around here breed livestock guardian dogs?" And she said, "Yeah. My husband works at a lumber yard, and the owners of the lumber yard breed Great Pyrenees, and they just had a litter just about 6 weeks ago." I said, "Okay, well, we're in business." So we called them, and then they said, "Well, yeah, you can come down and pick one out, but they can't leave here for a little while longer." So we went down, we picked one out, paid $350 for Lily. She was our first Great Pyrenees. And we got her home here in April, and we wound up putting chicks out on the field that year, like May 15th or so. It was a little later than normal. This year, we're going to be getting them out May 1st. You know, it's been freezing cold out right now. And our predation ceased. And she was just a young dog, too. She was really young. We started her out in we put Lily in a dog kennel down in the clear span with all the chicks and let her sleep in that down there. And we would just put her in there, and then we started letting her out at night, and she learned that she lived here, and predation was just like stopped. And the rest is history. We found a guy. We actually had a guy that worked for us, and he says, "Hey, I got a dog just like that." And I was like, "What kind is it?" And he says, "I have no idea. We found him. He showed up at our house." And I said, "You sure he looks like this?" And he said, yeah, he's exactly like that dog." So I went to his house. Sure enough, it was a Great Pyrenees. And because they have telltale signs, and they had named him Lebet, which in French is the beast, Lebet. Good dog. And so he came here for a while, and he bred Lily. And that's where we got started breeding Great Pyrenees dogs. And so Lily, Minnie, now Claire, and the next one is going to be Chloe. And Chloe came from Copperhead Farms. And Obi he took Lebet's place. Lebet never stayed here. And Obi he's not getting her done anymore. And so Obi's replacement is Louis. And we have Louis here. Louis is the one I was telling you about yesterday that we lost for a few hours. I mean, like 3 hours, we couldn't find him. So once we got the livestock guardian dogs, predation stopped with a few exceptions. And those exceptions would be nighttime owls. All right. They're greatly cut down because the owls, they're not swoop in and get out type people. They're swoop in, grab, jump out with a heavy chicken, and then go to work on it right there, which doesn't work if you have Great Pyrenees dogs, because they will scoot down there and they'll get rid of that owl, and the owl won't come back. But you'll have a dead chicken. That's how you know, or a severely injured chicken, and that's how you'll know that it was an owl. And usually, the puncture wounds on an owl from an owl are devastating. I caught an owl one time. We had an owl that got in one of the chicken tractors and then couldn't get out. And then the sun came up, and I guess they can't see very good in the light. And so he was a big boy. He was 2 feet tall, and he looked like a formidable creature. And I just did not want to harm him or her. And so I threw a coat over her, and then I got her into a cage. And my thought was, well, I want to look at her for one, but then I wanted to, take her someplace and let her go. And when I was handling her, I had on a pair of welding gloves. They were brand new. I had not even used them. And they are called Blue Stallion, for any of you guys that are welders out there. And they're like the top of the line welding gloves. And they're really thick. And these were brand new. I had just gotten them. And I grabbed the feet of this owl, and I could feel on my finger, on one of my fingers, I could feel the talons starting to tighten up. And I instinctively pulled my hand back because they were new gloves. They were kind of stiff, and I was able to pull my finger out right on the end. And those talons went like this through the glove, right through the glove, like nothing. And if my finger had been in there, they would have gone through my finger. I mean, these gloves were a lot tight. They were a lot tougher than my finger, a whole lot tougher, right through it. So I was impressed with that little creature. And I took her up to a friend of mine's house 60 miles away and let her go. I let her go at dusk, and we caught her again. That's how we found out it was a female. Somebody looked at her and said, "Oh yeah, it's a female." And you're going to have to do something here. She's going to keep coming back. And the season ended, and we didn't see her again. Okay, that's the way it went. We didn't see her again. So owls can be a real problem, but with the Great Pyrenees, you have a much better chance of not, getting destroyed by owls. Because what owls will do is when they get in the pen, they will kill a lot of birds. They'll kill like 15 birds, and they'll just snip the heads off. You'll find heads in one corner and bodies in the other corner, like they're going to come back for them, but they don't. And so they're pretty bad. You gotta deal with them. I've told you guys before, the way to deal with them is with a small leg hold trap. So anybody that's trapped out there, a small leg hold trap, I think like a 110 is a small one. You can put your finger in it and it'll just go like that. It's a hold. It doesn't snap like a mouse trap. It's designed to close, but just hold. And you don't want to break the bone of the animal's leg, because if you do, it'll go numb and the animal will chew it off. But if it's just holding and they can't pull away, they wind up just sitting there. So you take a trap like that and you put it on a pole, and you put that pole up above everything else in the vicinity of your chicken tractors. So your chicken tractors are 2 feet high. You put this up at about 8 feet high. What will happen is an owl will come in and they will light on that to peruse the area to see if it's safe. And when they light on that, they don't know a trap when they see it. They'll light on it and they're stuck. And then they'll hold themselves up, and then they'll just regain, gain composure and just sit there. And then you kind of have them on the pole, and then you could take that pole and put it in a cage. And you could, if you're savvy enough, you could reach in there and open it up and let them free. You do have to be careful, though. You have to be careful. And then you have to take them a lot of miles away, like a lot of miles away. 60 is not enough. How that thing found its way back, literally 60 miles. It's beyond me. But once the Pyrenees get used to it, they'll take care of that too. The other one that's a little difficult to deal with is Redtail Hawks. They're day hunters, and for some reason, at least with my dogs, they don't pick it up. These birds come in very quickly and usually swoop and go. So if there are chickens out of the chicken tractors, they're the ones that they'll pick on, right? And they got to be kind of small, because the red-tailed hawk is only, he's pretty big. He's like probably 18 inches. He's good size, but not anything like a golden eagle or a bald eagle. They're big, but they don't really give us much trouble. They don't. Once in a while, we'll get one that'll go into an arc or a loitering arc, and he'll circle around a little bit. But my dogs pick up on that instantly, and they're out there chasing them off. I've never had one. Well, I take that back. I did. We had a trio here a few years ago. I even got it on video. And this, oh yeah, now I remember. Okay, yeah. We had a fox problem, okay? And maybe I'll go to the board for this one. This is kind of, well, whatever. I had reconfigured the fence for the dogs to just be about around a circle, and it was somewhere around 6 or 7 acres, right? And my thinking was, well, so long as the chicken tractors are within that radius, we're fine, because the dogs can patrol it, but they can't go out of it. Well, what happened was we kept finding birds that had been taken out of that circle of safety and had been killed. And I couldn't figure out what that was. And then Rachel did a count, and we were missing somewhere around 50 chickens. And we were missing something like 15 turkeys. So we knew something was doing it, and I suspected that it was a fox because, I suspected that it was a fox. And one morning I came out, and now I'm traveling with a gun. I have a 22 Magnum rifle on my tractor all the time, because when you see them, you might not have time to get back to the house and get a gun. Open sights on it, 22 mag with a big gaping hollow point on it, just devastating if you hit a small animal like a fox. And I'm coming out in the morning, and I come over the hill, and as soon as I come over the hill, there's 3 bald eagles sitting there, and all 3 of them are on chickens and dead. But I knew those chickens were there, and I knew that they were dead. I'd seen them a day before. And so I stopped. I thought about it for a second, and then I just kept going, and they got spooked, and they went, and they didn't go far, and they stopped in some trees, and I went down there, and I got some photographs of them and stuff like that. It was a trio, and 2 of them had white heads, but the 3rd one was a juvenile, and he did not have a white head. It was definitely an eagle. And so, but they left. I think they were just passing through. I saw them maybe another day, but they were just passing through. And then that fox could dash in the circle of safety and then get out, and the fox knew that Obi couldn't go any further. So we knew we had to reconfigure that. We just wasn't sure how he was going to do it. So the way it's reconfigured now is the dogs can go all the way to the back of the property, all the way down to the back of the 80. They can, which is a long ways. But they can't get up to anywhere near the road. So the road is beneath the peak. There's a peak, and so they can't even see the road. And that's a good thing, because I've taken that whole sensory, the vision part of it away from them. So it's really calmed a lot of things down. But that year was pretty bad with that fox. And I don't know, the more I tell the story, the more sure I am that I hit her. I'm pretty sure it was a female. It was a really long shot, and it was pretty dark. But I definitely could see her running, and could definitely see her run right up onto a hay bale, a big round bale. I had just baled them up that day, and I was kind of far away, but I had a good backstop, and I knew that it was a safe shot. I didn't know I was going to hit, and I didn't have a telescopic sight. I just had open sights. So I just took the shot, and it made that whopping noise when the bullet hits something. If the bullet had just passed, you wouldn't hear anything really, but it made that whopping noise. So I thought, well, I either hit the bale or I hit that fox. And so I went out there, had a flashlight, looked everywhere. I couldn't find a cut hair. I couldn't find any blood. I couldn't find, when you hit a bale like that with that big hollow point, it would have grooved it. I even backed up and shot the bale the next day just to see, would I really see the damage on this bale. So I did the next day. And sure enough, yeah, it grooved it out really good. So I hit something, but I wound up thinking I didn't hit that fox. And so I sat out a couple more days, and I never did see her again. And I'm assuming it was a female, because it was at the time of the day where she would have had young. And that's when they'll take the risks to do what that guy was doing. All right. So, okay, there's predation. Now there's a lot of ways that you can thwart predation. You can put a small electric fence up around your chicken tractor. You could put a net up around it. And all those ways, I guess, would work pretty good. I've never really experimented with those. I've seen people put on all four corners, put like motion detectors that'll turn a light on. I really don't know about that. I don't, because we got the Great Pyrenees dog, and I will always have them. As long as I'm farming, I'll always have them. So that's the route I'm going to go. So I can't really speak to any of those other ways. All right. Maybe you guys have had experience with that, but I haven't. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about in pastured poultry is to maximize your profits. You have to do your own processing. You have to. So that just means that you have to have an area set up and just go ahead and do it, and then discover the process, right? Discover the flow of it, where you want to do it, and things like that. There's a lot of information out there. We've helped people set up areas, and they've done really well with it. And once you're set up with it and you get proficient at it, then it's actually a stream of income if you want to do birds for other people. So, of course, people are going to say, well, I don't know if I can because I live in a subdivision. Look, if you're going to go asking permission to butcher a chicken that you grew, I feel sorry for you. I really do. I think what you probably want to do is realize if you need to look at something to make you feel better, download the Bill of Rights to the U.S. Constitution, go to the Fifth Amendment. It says that your life, liberty, and property is protected under due process of law, right? And then do a search on chicken butchering laws in the United States, right? I don't know, maybe there's one or two there. I really don't know. I don't think so. I think if it's your chicken and you want to butcher it for your table or you want to sell it to somebody else, that's your business. But if you go asking like the department of this, that, and the other thing, if you can do it, some idiot's going to say, well, no, you need permission to do that. You need permission, written permission from us. And it'll only cost you $120 a year. But we got to come and inspect your facilities to make sure you're doing it right, because we know all about right. So if you want to go that route, go ahead. But don't talk to me about it, because it's a dumb route to go. What you want to do is just, they're your chickens, you butcher them, and then after they're butchered, they're still your chickens. You do what you want with them. Now, if you try to go sell them to a restaurant, they're going to say, sorry, we can't use these because these weren't killed at a USDA facility. Okay, then don't try to sell them to those guys. Sell them to your neighbors. Sell them to, your coworkers, stuff like that. And it'll work out okay. And that's really all I'm going to say about that, because we cover that a lot. If you call up any of these departments and say, well, Mark said, you'll probably get a funny look from them. But they're in the business of selling permission, right? So if you need to buy some permission, they're the ones you want to call. You probably should say, hey, could you send me a list of other permissions that you guys give out? Could I get permission to, I don't know, all kinds of stuff. All right, so that is, that's not it. There's a lot to every one of those processes. The building of the chicken tractor, the building of your brooder, the execution of the brooding process. There's a lot to know there. You want your temperature to be up around 105 when you begin. Those baby chicks need to be warm. You're going to see where it says, well, you should dip each chick's beak in the water. And we've never done that. We have never done it, because when we started doing it, I didn't know that. So we never did it. We still don't do it. Right. You start at 105 degrees and you can back it down a couple degrees a day. It's pretty cold out. It was like 36 today and the wind was blowing. So we still have the hover heater going in our brooder. It maintains just the pilot light most of the time, but occasionally it comes on to warm that place up, and it helps them out a lot. I didn't talk too much about feed. We get our feed from a guy over in Mayo. It's like a minute group, and we choose to get it's not organic, but it's GMO free, right? And that's just a decision that we've made, and we know these guys, and when we need feed, they come and deliver it. So I'll probably stay with that. If you are wondering about feed, if you're going to get feed in bags, that's not as good an idea as getting it in bulk. When it comes in bulk, the truck comes, and the truck's got a tank in it with your feed in it. And then there's an auger in the back of the truck, and it augers it into whatever you have. So let's say that you get a feed bin, and they fill it, with several tons, then you've got all you're going to need. It's not a great idea to be running to the feed store and buying it by the bag, because it's way more expensive, and I don't know. You want to find a reputable mill too. You don't want them using really old corn. Our feed is primarily corn, and then we have, I think, field peas for the protein, and then there's a mineral pack in there and a couple other things. All right, let's see. I'm going to leave it right there and open it up for questions. We got about another 20 minutes. We can go a little longer than that. And if the questions would be pertinent to, well, it's Open Line Friday. Ask whatever you want. I don't care. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I love this one. Lady at Tractor Supply told me to use a bulb and not a heat plate because she never had a bulb burst. Well, there you go. I mean, listen to the experts. And Luann's with us. Hi, tribe. I can hook you up for logs for you, Mark. Logs? What kind of logs? Oh, your fuel pump died. Bummer. What do you mean logs, Luann? Do you mean mushroom logs? Logs. Okay, what do we got here? Logs. I do skunk patrol every night. This is Vindicti. Not to protect my chickens, but because they keep trying to invade my crawl space. I kill about one a week, and I'm always getting whiffs of skunk. Yeah, skunks can be a real pain. If you had a Great Pyrenees, you wouldn't have skunks. I'll tell you that. And I can tell you how to shoot a skunk. I've shot lots of them. Never shoot them in the head. Never. Shoot them through the chest with a solid bullet. Yes, indeedy. The bullet will zip through their chest cavity and they'll just fill up with blood on the inside, but it won't really hurt them. You know, if you use just a nasty hollow point, it'll mushroom out in them and just do a lot of tearing, and you don't want that. You want them to get hit and just away, and as they're walking away, they just fade and then die. But if you shoot them in the head, they'll go around and they'll spray off. Jill's clothes that were hanging out here, and we thought they were lost because they were so bad. I picked them up today and smelled them. Not a hint of skunk on them. Ooh, you got to take a whole week to get a fuel pump. My goodness. Huh. Aaron's asking, would brown millet and hemp seed mix have enough nutrients for pastured chickens? I don't know. I don't know. I know a good way to find out. Feed it to them and see what happens. I'd try it for sure. Oh, logs to build the store. Okay. Well, we just need to get them to our Sawyer then. Hmm. All right. Well, I'm in the market for some questions about pastured poultry here. Um, I think it's a great place for you all to start. It's sort of the gateway, and when you get used to the butchering process, it takes some getting used to. I wouldn't say that it's something I love, but I do like the idea that we have the ability to take them from on the hoof or on the field to ready for the freezer. I think that's pretty nice to be able to do that, and it gives you a lot of freedom. This year, our prices for custom poultry processing is $4.75, and I say that because I mean it's almost it almost seems like too much to me. But Jill's the one that really analyzes all of the costs of everything that we're doing, and she's like, no, look at this electric bill, look at this bill for propane. You know, none of this stuff is even close to where it was last year. We have to pass this on. So I don't know, everything's going up, and the quality, the price, or the value of the dollars that we are using these days, they're just not the same. Just not the same. Okay, Andy's with us. Right on. Well, seeing as it was my birthday, Frank got me something that I want to show y'all. The other day we were at Ebel's and we were looking at machetes. And Frank eyeballed this machete, and I think he was probing me. And he's saying, whoa, which one do you like better? Which one do you think I ought to get? This is a Fisker's. I use a Fisker's splitting axe a lot, and I really like it. And this is a Fisker's machete, and it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. Not exactly sure why they have these holes in the ends, but it's going to be, I think I'm going to put it on my belt and walk around with it tomorrow, and all these, there'll be people here that don't know me, just like, yeah, doesn't everybody walk around with a machete on their belt? I think I'll do it too. When I go to Ebel's, I'll just have this hanging on my belt. Machetes. I was stationed with a kid that was from Zimbabwe. He actually worked for me, and he was working in the U.S. Air Force on a green card, believe it or not. His mother was a professor at some university, and this kid had the funniest accent, and he would say, Sergeant Baker, and he would tell me, my mother told me, do not hang around with the African Americans. It's pretty funny. But he was a big machete guy. He had a machete in his car. Oh, we got something here. Thank you. Just off the press. Oh, yeah. This would be helpful. Okay, June 11th, we're having a pastured poultry and chicken processing class. We did this last year. We've done them periodically. Last year was really good. We had a nice full class, and we started out in the morning with just a little open discussion about pastured poultry. Then we went over to the maintenance shop, and we had a chicken tractor that we were in the process of building. So it didn't have the cover on it, and it was really nice to be able to discuss the different methods that we are using now compared to what we used to use, and so people could see and take notes and stuff. I got a really good design now. I think it's our Generation 4 is really nice. I should make like an ebook on it so you all could have it. And then we head out to the field and we go through some operational techniques of moving chicken tractors, looking at the feeding system, looking at the watering system. You can see how it's laid out, how we lay out the lines, and then we'll do a move. We'll talk about processing day, how we pick them up and things like that. And then we'll pick up, we don't usually pick up chickens in the daylight. We usually pick them up at night. But depending on how many people are in the class, I think we're going to want, 3 chickens per person that we'll pick up, and then probably an extra 20. And the idea is that everybody in the class, we have lunch. Of course, we have chicken for lunch. And then after lunch, we get right into processing chickens. And it goes until whenever we finish up. So I think it was like 5 o'clock last night. So it's a pretty long class. But the idea was when people leave this class, they can be calling the hatchery. In theory, it's a Saturday class, so probably not. But Monday morning, you could be calling the hatchery, ordering up your chicks, start building your brooder. The chicks come a week later, boom, in the brooder they go. In 3 weeks, you've got your first chicken tractor built. Bam, you're in the chicken tractor. And then over the next 5 weeks, you're working on your processing area, and it's done, and you're in business. You are in business. Then all you have to do from there is just scale up. So we did do this too. we realize that some of the people that come to the class are homesteaders. They're not interested in a side business. They just want to raise chickens for their family, right? Good idea. I mean, that's a great place to start and finish if you want, but it's if you want to start there and then say, hey, we could do more. We could, my mother-in-law wants some, this and that. And you can scale up from there. But because of that, we will do a handful of the birds, let everybody have a try at hand plucking. So that's how we used to do it here before we had our own plucker. We had like a sort of like a whiz bang plucker. And what we do in that case is we set up like a station. We put a pipe in between a couple sawhorses and then hang some lanyards off those pipes so that you can put a lanyard around the chicken. The chicken's hanging, so you scald it and then you hang it up and then you sit there on a bucket, pull feathers. It's fun. You can have a person sitting on one side, a person on the other side, and you can pull feathers and you can talk about the Boston Red Sox if you want while you're doing it. Really fun. Really fun. We got to the point where I was the guy that was killing the chickens, and I would scald them. I'd do them one at a time, and then I'd bring them over and I'd hang them up. And I think we had 4 or 5 kids at the time, and they would be sitting on buckets pulling feathers. And then when that one was done, I'd take it off, take it over the table. Jill would eviscerate it, gut it, and so we had a nice little thing going. It was pretty fun. All right. Okay, Aaron's got a question. Okay, well, let me. Vindicti says, would you run a water line if you only had one tractor or just manually refill? I would run a water line. Certainly would. Yeah. The reason is if you scale up to 2, you get twice as much work. But if you have your one water line out there to just build a little manifold and be able to plug another one in, it would take 30 seconds to do. And now you're not hauling any water out there. It's all being done. And then you can kind of step back and say, wow, this is really saving me a lot of trouble. It really is. And not only saving trouble, it's building redundancy is not the word. It's building, what is it? Sergeant Zumwald, what are you building into the system when you go with a better technology, a sounder technology? You're building, I can't think of it right now. You're building reliability, you're building resiliency into the system. So yeah, I would do it. And plus, if you get the stuff that you need for one chicken tractor, you're going to say, hey, I could use this to water my mulberry bushes, or I could use this to water my pigs. You can use drip irrigation everywhere on the farm. It is really cool stuff. Really cool. Okay, Aaron's asking, what's a good plucking machine and how much does one cost? I think the only ones that I've ever used are the drum machines. They have these other ones that you sort of have a drill, some sort of motor, and then a shaft that sticks out that has fingers on it, rubber fingers, and they're going around, I think, away from you. And then there's sort of a deck that you can lean the bird on. So you scald the bird and then you move it across that. Now, I've not used one of those. So I really, and I've not even seen one in operation. I've just seen them in magazines. The first one that I ever got was a drum plucker, and it was a 50-gallon. It was made out of a 50-gallon plastic drum, and they call it a whiz bang, I think, is the closest. And this one appeared to be commercially made. I got it off an Amish guy up here by the Amish store. Didn't have a motor on it. He claimed it worked good, and it did. We used it for years. And I think I paid him like $200 for it, right? But you see them, the brand new ones, I think they're better part of $1,000, I think, new. Let me just check that out. Let me check that out real quick. Whiz bang. Chicken. Huh. Plucker. Whiz bang chicken plucker. Oh, well, here's a stain. Yeah, they're not that bad. Here's a, huh. Yeah, there's actually some nice looking ones here. Stainless steel chicken plucker, Lem Products, LEM, $4.79. Yardbird poultry plucker, $4.99. Stainless steel chicken plucker, $4.79. Vevor turkey chicken plucker, $4.23. Super handy chicken plucker, $78. Huh. All right, so there's a bunch of them. Here's one, a CP23 23-inch chicken plucker. It's $1,000. Okay. Oh, here's a really nice one. Chicken hatching time is $589.99. Huh. All right, so they're out there. I don't see them being very expensive, actually. I thought they were more expensive than that. Even Home Depot has one. Wow. 3/4 horsepower stainless steel chicken plucker, $715. I would not let the price of a chicken plucker bother me one bit, because the little chicken plucker that I had paid for itself the first time I turned it on. It really did. I mean, chickens come out of our chicken plucker feather free. I mean, they are clean, right? And so you dump 10 of them in, and in 20 seconds, they're clean. Yeah, you just saved yourself a couple hours worth of work, at least a couple hours worth of work. I mean, that's an understatement. And, you have to start thinking about the homestead in terms of, okay, if I dedicate this many hours of my time to this homestead, what am I worth? What do I want to get paid? And we had to do this with our biochar, with pricing our biochar. All right, if I'm paying my kids $1 an hour, oh, I can bring the price way down. But if I'm paying them $20 an hour, which I really don't get it. I mean, I hire a lawyer, and I know how inept that lawyer was, and what he wanted to be paid per hour compared to what I get paid per hour. Like, why is it that that individual is getting paid? Probably cheated his way through law school, in my opinion. He was terrible, had a drug problem and everything. Terrible guy. Why was it that he was worth so much more money than I was. It's just because he was willing to ask for it and then wear the, dress for it, dress the part. I don't really think that that's correct. I think that if we're producing food, we should be par with the other professionals that we go to see. You know, uh, a ways back, quite a ways back, we were seeing a doctor for. He was going to be our family doctor. We were coming out of the military, and we were used to going to the doctor a lot. We really were. And so we started going to a doctor here in town, and it was just drugs and, hurry up and wait. And it was not a good thing. So we got turned on to this other guy. He was up in Traverse City, and he had a building that was in the hospital complex, actually. It seemed like it was across the road, but and he was supposedly a holistic. I forget everything about him, but he was also a medical doctor, right? And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm into the farming thing. Hey, we can barter. We can barter for services." And then when it came time to barter for services, it's like we were in for a couple hours worth of time with him. My kids were being seen, I was being seen, and da 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 da. When we figured it out the other end, I would have had to give him a whole cow for just a few hours of his time and really not much else. I mean, it was really very much a lot of conversation and stuff, but the billing was like, holy smokes. I mean, very, very expensive. And then I said, okay, we can't do this because there's no way every time I come to see you with an acre of pain, I got to give you a cow. There's just no way. So that whole system has been inflated into the twilight zone because of insurance companies, and he felt like he should get paid just as much as he would if he was taking our insurance. My insurance wouldn't work with him because he was a holistic guy. My insurance, I've got good insurance through the military. I can go to any doctor I want, but a lot of them are, I don't know. I think they kind of get you in a web that you never get out of. And so I just didn't feel like I was interested in that. So now we just we don't do anything. We just stay healthy. So why is it that why is it that we are underpaying ourselves? If you're going to figure out what you should get paid, should you not be getting at least $20 an hour in what you're doing just because it's farming? I think you should. I think you should get more than that. I charge 25 for me here, and actually making biochar for Jim, 25. We charged for him. He puts in 2 hours per burn, so there's 25, 25. That's 50 and $7 worth of wood. A burn is $57. So then when we break it down, we have to cover that much at least. And at $6 a pound, we're over that. So that's how we do our figuring. And that's what you do in pastured poultry too. You have to figure out what your expenses are, your chicks, your bedding, your propane, your feed. You got to amortize out your equipment over, say, 5 years. 5 years is about right, I think. And then you've got your baseline, what you're paying for each chicken that goes out. And you can break it down even further than that, each pound of chicken. And then you have to figure in a profit. You got to make a profit, right? So, they don't do that in the chickens that you get from the store because they'll have one guy that is managing 4 or 5 houses, but they're automated, and the guy His job is to go and pick out the dead ones and get rid of them. So in that case, there's a lot less expense, but they're not on pasture either. They're just they put them on about that much sawdust, and by the end, it's just all manure that they're on, and the places are so dusty you cannot believe it. It's so dusty in there, and the poor chickens have to breathe that. All right, what do we got? Kaz versus Wild says, yeah, right on, Jill. She's right. All costs are going up. Don't worry about the price because your quality is outstanding. Thank you. And I think that's an important point Kaz is making right there. Sean Kelly asked me the other day. He's not on, so I can talk about him. He was asking me about Brian Polson. He's a chef that is down in Livonia, whatever. And he's a high-end chef. He's been chefing all his life, and he's kind of a celebrity type guy, He writes books and stuff like that. I've known him for a long time. And he says, well, should I take the extra time to make this pig look really nice, or should I just, give him, a hack job? And I said to Sean, go the extra mile. Because what that's going to do is that's going to push Sean to turn out a product that's, A1. And that's what you want to do. Because even if, like, impressing Brian Polson, it may bring you more work, he may turn you on to, or turn one of his friends on to you that, is got some project going where you could get a lot of work, a lot of good work, really good work. So you always want to do the best you can. I mean, this is your own business. This isn't like being in the Air Force and just kicking the tires and lighting the fires and saying, get off my runway. So quality matters. Quality really matters. Okay. Benedicti says, I use a 5-gallon water that sits on the ground for 30 birds. I need to use 2 in the heat of summer, filling morning and night. I use a 5-gallon water that sits on the ground for 30 birds. And you got to fill it twice a day. I would run a capillary line out there, and you wouldn't do that anymore. That's what I would do. Angus says, perhaps a video on scalder, preferred cones, chicken plucker, tools needed or made. I could do that. Angus saying, call me when you can for info. That means Luann's got some good, juicy info. You weren't on last night, Luann, but I talked to Scott Kesterson yesterday, and I'm going to be going on Bard's FM on Tuesday. Yep. How about them Bo socks? Andy says, I got a plucker a few days ago. I'm excited. I'm tired of doing it by hand. Yeah. Reliability. You're right, Andy. You do build reliability into it. Resilience. Yep. Infrastructure. The Ice House says, hey, Nance, how you doing? Feels like EPR writing. Ooh. Brings back. Give me PTSD, man. Don't do that. Isn't that a cool noise? Like, I wouldn't want to hear that noise if I was walking into somebody's house. Luann is saying, that those holes give us more velocity. But the thing is, they don't reduce drag when I'm cutting this way. If I was going to use it as a spanking stick, then yeah, there's less wind resistance, but that's not how you use it. So I don't really know. I was thinking they were lightning holes. They take a few ounces off. No. Okay. Justin, which plucker did you get, Andy? A Vivor, bottom shelf, but it can do a turkey. All right. 450, 450 bucks. I'm looking at the Easy Plucker 169. We can compare notes. I got about 200 to do this year. Okay. My father, Nancy's saying, my father built one I'll post it on the tribe webpage tomorrow. Okay, cool. Inga says, speaking of Home Depot, I drove by today. 2 huge sections of bagged soil using up half the parking lot. Victory Garden predicting. Huh. That would be nice. That would really be nice. Huh. Okay, Vindicti says, lawyer is in massive debt and has no choice but to charge lots. Yeah, I guess, but it seems like off the chart. It really does. Jill, if you deleted my question for being off subject, Jill would never delete one of your questions, Andy. I can guarantee that. Unless, no, you wouldn't ask. Nope, see, she didn't. Have an abundant day tomorrow, Baker's Green Acres. We will. I guess you're not coming then, Inga. Be that way. You can go to Home Depot. You can't come to Baker's Green Acres. Haven, right on. I made a video on my channel breaking down our finances from our first year growing broilers. That might be helpful. You know what? I saw that, but I didn't, and I was going to go through that, but I didn't, and now it's kind of disappeared from me. But I need to get in there and look at that. I went through all the equipment we bought and everything: crates, scalder, plucker, knives, packaging, and feed cost. Everything I could think of. Yeah, and pizzas by the slice. That was funny, I thought. It was a good video, says Andy. I believe it. I have a succulent event tomorrow. No Home Depot shopping. All right. I'm just giving you the business. So yeah, we my eyes feel like they're like I've been in a chlorinated pool all day. Wind was blowing here, something fierce. It's quiet now. Tomorrow for our seed day, it's supposed to be 36 degrees, which is not great. But the wind is not going to be beating us up. So that's nice. The wind can be really tough. Yeah, 36 is going to be the high tomorrow. The next day is going to be 46. And then Monday, 70% chance of snow. So it hasn't been the greatest lately, but at least it's not a nuclear winter, at least. So it's coming. I got to spend enough time outside today, that it really start to really fall in love with the process and really appreciate the process and hold my tongue when I get gusts of wind carrying sand into my eyes. Just take it easy. Let's see. Oh, all right. So I have to reverse something, or I got to tell you, I did something that goes against what I tell you all to do a lot. But we had a guy around here that we could call anytime, and he would come and artificially inseminate our cows. And the last couple of times that he was here, he appears to be struggling with some things. I'll just leave it at that, right? So we decided that, I can't really, in good conscience, have him doing a job like this for us. I mean, these are my cows, and I really like them, and we just decided that it wasn't going to work out, right? So then we said, okay, we had somebody that wanted to learn how to do it. Susan Greaves wanted to learn how to do it. So we had a class here, and we went through all the process of that, and it's a learning curve to be able to artificially inseminate cows, and she's working it, right? She's working it along with a few other things. And so it's going to be a while before we're at the point where I can call Susan, come over and, inseminate the cows. So Joe Higgins called me up a couple days ago, and he said, are you interested in a bull? And I said, I kind of am. And he said, well, there's a really nice bull, and I can get a hold of them, and it's a good deal, and you could just use them. And then if you didn't want to keep them, you could just butcher them, and you basically, right now is the time to buy these animals, because processing is still a problem, I guess. So he's coming tomorrow. I'm buying a bull. So I'm going to have a bull here, and we're going to reconfigure things so that the bull is safe and he's got a good place to keep him in. Because bulls aren't really great to have on the farm. They're really not. They can be dangerous, right? So I'm going to keep him quite separated, and then when we need to use him, we're going to be taking the cows into him, and we're going to do it that way for a while. And if he's a pretty nice guy now. He's only about a year and a half old, but they turn, and so I'm going against what I usually say, but it's because we got to do something. So that's the route I decided to go, and that's what I'm doing. I still like the idea of him being here and not being at some other place with people that aren't used to handling these animals, right? So he'll be here with me, and I think it'll be okay. All right, the tide is turning for homesteading farmers. Commercial farms are being squeezed. I'd like to hear what you know about that. I think that the attitude that you must take is, oh, has the tide turned? No, you just have to say the tide has turned. Why? Because I said so, because I'm not taking no for an answer. Like, I have the right under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to farm on my property, and no one's going to tell me that I can't, unless you have a township supervisor like Tony Barnes. Oh, he's not the supervisor anymore, is he, Inga? He lost his job because the farmers got together and said, hey, you don't have the right to do that. And then they took his job from him, didn't they? Yeah. So I don't think that it's like, oh, the government's going to bless us with the right to farm. No, that's not the way to look at this. The way to look at this is, we're doing this, damn it all, and you best stay out of our way because this document says you must. When I go on with Scott, I really think the time is now to go on the offensive with these agencies and start suing them, but not suing the agency. Sue the individual. Single them out, just like a wolf would single out, a weak sheep. But the weak ones, the ones to single out are the big mouths, the ones that want to be, the tough guy of, like the Laurel Sorensen that wants to get a search warrant going on some guy's place. She really went over the line, and she lost her job over it, right? But we should have sued her, is what we should have done individually. What about the township supervisor in, I don't know what township it is where Susan Greaves is at, but she informed him that she has the right to run a campground on her property, right? Camping's not illegal. He's trying to say you need permission from me, accompanied with a crisp $50 bill. And she said, you know what? I think I'm going to sue you for your net worth. Why? Because you took an oath to protect and defend my constitutional rights. My right to have campers on my property is protected under the Fifth Amendment. You are in violation of your oath of office, lad. You are violating your terms of employment, and I've decided to sue you. It's a contract, and I can bring you right into county court with it. And he said, oh, maybe I won't. Never mind. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? Because he doesn't know enough about it. He would have to go hire a lawyer. And you retain a lawyer these days, $2,500 just for a retainer. At least. But you know, that's the type of headhunting that you have to do. You have to be willing to take scalps off these people if you want your freedom. I mean, there's another gal. She's one of our milk customers, and I told you guys about this before, but she lives in a township. She's in this county, but it's a township that's north of me, up by the lake, and she set a tent up in her side yard for her grandkids to stay in. You know, kind of like an adventure type thing. And she was informed by the township supervisor via a letter that if she's going to have people camping in her side yard, that she has to get a special use permit, and they can only do it from Friday night until Sunday afternoon or something like that, some stupid thing like that. And she was outraged, I tell you. And she called me and said, what should I do? And I said, you do this. She hasn't done it, though. And that's the thing. It takes guts to do it. But if you don't do it, what's the next thing they're going to ask you to ask for, or they're going to order you to ask permission? These are our public servants that are saying, I'm the servant, you're the master, but you must ask me for permission. That's how upside down it is. But when you flip it around the other way and say, oh, by the way, you're bound by this contractual agreement called the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. You're bound by that, and you've just violated that. So I'm going to punish you by taking your home from you, because the Constitution is a very important document, and people have died for it. And I'm really irritated with what you're doing. So I'm suing you for your net worth. That's pretty tough stuff, huh? And what if the guy thinks, holy smokes, what if she wins? And what if she wins? I mean, is your right to set up a tent in your side yard protected under the Fifth Amendment? Can I get a little input here? Is it? You know, the Fifth Amendment says your life, your liberty, and your property is protected under due process of law. Does anybody at the township level, supervisor, anybody else, do they make law? No, they don't. They don't. Are they law enforcement officers? LEOs? No, they're not. They're none of that stuff. Are they health officials? And even if they are health officials, what's a health official? Some freaking nurse? You know, do they tell you? Can they tell you what to do? No. No. if you do it, you're an idiot. You know, they can make suggestions. They can say, well, you know, I mean, studies have shown that not urinating on your hands is probably better than urinating on your hands. And then you can do with it what you want. But if you want to urinate on your hands, that's protected under the Constitution as well. You can do it. They can't tell you you can't, and they can't penalize you if you do. They like to think they can, but they can't. They don't have a mechanism to penalize you unless you have a contract with them. And we keep telling you, don't get in contracts with any of these idiots, right? All right. The tide is turning. No, we are turning the tide. We are turning the tide. We're not waiting for anybody to give us any kind of permission. You know, I was talking with some of you guys are going to know this guy. I talked with him yesterday for about an hour. It's always a long conversation with this guy. He is the attorney at Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund. Pete Kennedy, good friend of mine. I really like talking to him. And we were talking about these subjects, you know, this as pertains to these agencies, like these departments, Department of Agriculture and the like. You give them power when you comply with their wishes. Now, I have never said don't comply with the law. No, you comply with the law. I am law abiding. I abide by the law. I really don't even speed. There's just something in me that says, no, speed limit's good enough. I'm all right. And I believe we are a land of laws. I like the form of government that we have. Actually, I love it. It's a great form of government. It's a representative republic. So actually, the laws that are in place, I consent to those laws. I consent. I think many of them, the overwhelming majority of the laws that we have in place, make sense. But a lot of times people get law and regulation mixed up. A lot of times they do. And they'll use terms like, well, get in trouble. You'll get in trouble. You know, I was just talking with a lady out here, and we got into an interesting conversation. She's a midwife. Her and I have a lot in common because I've got some midwifery experience under my belt as well. She's probably got about 1,000,000,000% more than me. I've delivered 3, 4, 5 babies, maybe, you know. I know my way around, you know. But we were talking about this, and I said, well, it's sort of like the business that you're in. Big health companies, big health, does not like midwives. They would just assume all of you are utilizing the hospital and doctors, right? Because if you're using the hospital and doctors, it's good for business. That's where we get, you know, we get the Pitocin in you, and we get to give you IVs and all the consumables and, you know, all the stuff that we can bill for. But when we had a baby Rachel was born here, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but it didn't cost us anything. And we were all in bed by 2 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up in the morning with a little baby next to me. And I think Jill brought me in a cup of coffee. She was up before I was. It was nice. You're at the hospital. It's a big event. Kids can't come in all the time. They have visiting hours. Somebody else in the room, you know, it's just gross. But anyway, we were having this conversation, and she was talking about a guy in Indiana that got in some trouble because he And he said that to prevent him from because he had butchered a pig for somebody, and then they took it home and they finished it. So he did the butcher on it, the kill and chill, and then they took it home. And I was like, got in trouble. Like, do you think there's drones that are out flying around that, oh, we've got a detection, somebody just killed a pig on quadrant 5? No. I mean, no one's going to know even. And they don't have, the thing is you're not hiding from anybody. I'm not hiding on my property and doing what I do. My property is private. It's private. I don't have to alert anybody that I'm going to kill a pig today. I don't. It's not required. It's a legal activity. And if it is legal, then it is not illegal. And it's my business. And it's private property. And I do what I'm a private citizen, and I'm a free guy. I'm free. I'm over 21. And it's so stupid when you think that, oh, like you're gonna hear somebody's just killed a pig. They are manned so thin. It's usually that people are kind of brainwashed, that they want somebody to tell them it's okay. So you want to make a phone call to somebody. Hey, is it okay if I kill chickens in my backyard? Yes, it's okay. Hey, we can do it. We can do it. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. You do everything that is not legal, that is not illegal. So the dividing line is, if it's illegal, if there is a law against it, then don't do it. But if there is a regulation, right? These agencies come up with regulations. If that regulation is not consistent with the Constitution that gives me the right to do everything that is not illegal, then I'm not under any obligation at all to give it another thought. And you might get something like, hey, that's against the rules. But I'm not playing by your rules. I don't do rules, right? I do house rules, because my wife enforces them maybe, or I enforce them. But I'm not going to let somebody from the outside tell me that, well, you're going to play by my rules. Why should I? You can't do anything if I don't, so why would I? Right? That's basically what it comes down to. Oh, they'll put you in prison. That's when you have to say, go for it. Go for it. If you think you can, then go for it. Right? I'll tell you guys this because most of you will never hear me speak, and if I speak out at the Bards thing, you won't be there. But I think what I'm going to do next time I go to one of these places where they're having me speak, conference about regulation and slaying the giant, basically. They're not really the giant. They're a giant in our minds, and not in my mind anymore at all. They're the parasite class, actually, and they're trying to get something for nothing. And in my opinion, that's sleazy. That is just sleazy. Why don't you work for it, you little sleaze bags? But this is what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. Next time I'm on stage, I'm going to go up there, and just like I did the last time, I brought my briefcase with me, my briefcase full of blues, and I took my duct tape out and I duct taped some things on the podium a little bit, But this time I'm going to pull out my handy dandy Monopoly rules. I'm going to pull them out. I'm going to open them up. And I got me the Monopoly rules right up there so everybody can see. I'm reading from the Monopoly rules. Parker Brothers, probably. Monopoly rules, right? And before I take to the stage, I will have covertly taken a piece of tape and written "go" on it. And I will put it down on the floor. I'll stick it on the floor. And then I will say, I need a volunteer. And probably anybody that's been to Homestead Hog Harvest would say, hey, don't do it. Don't do it. But there'll be a lot of people there that don't know any better. And it's always the same type of person that wants to volunteer, you know. And so somebody will volunteer, and I'll pick them from the area that they have to walk over that piece of tape that says go. And when they walk up to the front, I'm going to get them on stage, put my arm around them, and say, all right, give me $200. And I'll lean on them. Give me the $200. Give me the $200. And I'll be like, why? Why should I give you $200? You just passed go. And it says right in this manual here, these rules, that when you pass go, you got to give me $200. So give me the $200. And the guy will say, well, but we're not playing Monopoly. I am. I'm playing Monopoly. Give me the $200. And, you know, maybe he pulls his wallet out and gives me like, well, I got 110. And if he gives it to me, I would say, shame on you. Shame on you. But isn't it the same thing? I'm here running my farm, private property. There's nothing illegal going on here. Pigs, rabbits, chickens, you know. But yet we do it a little differently. We birth them here. We feed them out here. We process them here. And then when people come on the farm and they want to buy them, we sell them to. That's slightly different, right? Is there anything illegal about that? No. But some woman in a white coat and a hairnet will say, aha, according to these rules, you can't do that. You need a license from us. Once you get a license from us, it makes it okay according to these rules. They might even throw the word legal in there. Legal. You mean, so long as I have a license, I'm not breaking the law? Well, you're following the rules. Oh, so to kill a chicken without permission from you, is that against the law? Could I do time for that? Well, no. Well, then why the hell would I get it? It's the rules. Yeah, but I don't do rules. Well, you gotta. Well, I'm not gonna. What are you gonna do about it? Well, nothing. We can't do anything about it. Then go away and leave me alone. And I've been operating here for the last 5 years, and I do everything that you're not supposed to do. It's sort of like it's a wives' tale, actually. And that's kind of a slam. I shouldn't say that. No, it isn't. It's a wives' tale. It's made up. The other day on Michigan Homesteaders, somebody said that they're selling pet milk. And that's code for I'm selling milk, but it's for your pet. So they believe that it's legal if it's for a pet. And somebody else pipes in just so quick. I mean, it was just like clockwork. And they said, better change the wording because it's even illegal to sell pet milk in the state of Michigan. And I mean, good grammar and everything. So I doubt that they were just a slobbering idiot. But the statement was stupid. It was actually stupid. And I just said, you know, and I don't know. I don't know if they even know who I am, but I just said, not true. What a storm that created. Not true. And I'm going to go back on and say, okay, you all, if you think it's true, here's my address. Here's my phone number. I sell milk. I sell beef. I sell pork and chicken. And I ain't got license one. Come and get me. Turn me in. Turn me in. And it would be kind of funny, actually, because like, oh, you know, because some of them get really, you know, the people that are on the internet a lot of times, they remind me of the kids that wanted to sit up at the front of the classroom, and every time you turn around, they had their hand up. I know the answer to that, even if they didn't know. They always want to be the first one to answer the question. And so, like on the internet, that they're doing that still. They're still, and they think they know the answers to everything. And of course, it's illegal to sell milk. So really, when you narrow it down, when you narrow it right down, like, and I've said this before, if this was a bottle of, let's see, there's a bunch of ways you can approach this that's really fun. Okay, raw milk, you're saying it is illegal to sell. Okay. All right. Is it illegal if I don't sell it? Like if I just milk my cow and I have a bottle of it, a bottle of milk, is it illegal for me to fondle it? Is it illegal for me to drive around in my car with it, with the top open? I got the top open. I got an open container of milk. Is that illegal? If I get pulled over by a state policeman, should I throw it out the window? Is he going to say, "What did you throw out the window?" I got to tell the truth, officer. It was a bottle of raw milk. And he says, "Why did you throw it out the window?" "I'm going to pop you for littering." "I thought it was illegal." How many times do you ever hear people getting arrested? Possession of raw milk. Ever? You ever hear people? Occasionally somebody gets in some sort of trouble where they're transporting something across state lines, and I don't know the ins and outs of that, but whenever it comes to like a plant that you have in Nevada, and then you take it into California, I don't know. I would have to look at that. I haven't, but it creates problems crossing state lines. So that's usually where you hear people getting in some sort of trouble with raw milk. But usually they just make them dump it out and that's it. But I don't know where I was going with that. All right. I wonder about that. I've seen that, Luann. Government is forcing farmers to destroy crops, animals, or no subsidies. I've seen a couple of those accounts, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know. No one's come to me and asked me to do something like that. That's not happened to me. So I don't know. Food shortages, I don't think so. I think it was planned. I think, it was just like the Wu flu was supposed to be really bad, but they just, like everything they do, they half step it and they didn't get it done. They didn't get it done. So I think it was a big plan. I think Wu flu was part of it. Lockdowns, all the people, suicides, wind up getting into drugs, and all of, how everything is really still screwed up right now. Like Devin calls it the dipshit factor. How it's bad. It's not good. But I think it was supposed to be a lot worse. And then I think that this food shortage thing was supposed to be happening right about now. The thing is if there's a shortage of food, where is all that food? Where is it all? Okay. Answer me that question, And what they're trying to tell you, oh yeah, the president, and he's one of them. He's saying, well, there's going to be food shortages. So, I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I thought, well, I better produce some extra. And I think a lot of people in the United States thought, well, I'm going to produce some extra. That's probably why there's all that potting soil there at Home Depot, is because people said, I want it. And enterprising people said, hey, I'm going to invest in potting soil right now, because with the threats that the president's thrown out there, a lot of people are going to want potting soil. So let's get some potting soil. I mean, this is America. This is our system. Is people look at it and say, hey, there's money to be made here. Let's get into potting soil, right? I have a friend that taught me this principle, and not that he set me down and said, here's what you want to do, but he invests. And turns out they never did this. They never did it. But I heard them talking. He's really close with his sons. They're adults, and they watch what's going on, and they invest their money in stuff. And they use their money just like it's a tool. And if they can make it multiply, well, so much better. And it's become sort of a hobby for them in a way, because they love to talk about investing their money. And it's not like they are watching the stock market. They're watching the world. They're watching America. They're watching people, right? And so, and they watch TV too. They watch the news to see what the trends are. And so at this particular time, this is like 6-8 years ago. Somebody had done something, and they went in and they shot a bunch of people or something. And then when the cops shot them, they didn't go down. And then, of course, the talking heads started saying, we need to outlaw body armor. And they talked about it, and they're talking about it, and they're talking about it. And my buddy's kid says, hey, Dad, we need to invest in body armor. And so they start researching the one that would be the best investment, the one that is in the best part of the country, the one that has the most ability to tool up, And for some reason, they never did. But then they said we should have, because we could have done really well with that one. So the news puts this out that, hey, we need to outlaw body armor. And people are like, I'm going to go get me some body armor. Like, the average guy really needs body armor. Maybe they put it on, stand in the mirror, get a selfie. Here I am with my plate carrier on. This feels good. I think I'm going to sit down and watch a little TV with my plate carrier on. Feels so good. Honey, rub my back. That's people. I don't have any plate carriers, honest to God. I hate those damn things. But yeah. So that's America, right? So the president's saying there's going to be food shortages. There's a lot of people that are saying, I smell profit. If there's going to be food shortages, then I'm going to start selling food. But, of course, we have the gougers that say, oh, food shortages, let's increase our prices by about 30%. And they just do it because people are in sort of a frenzy and they can gouge. And that's one way to go, but that's not a real good way, because if you price to sell, I'll give you an example. Increasing our prices to do chicken butchering. We look around and we say, well, if people don't come to us, who will they go to? And along the lines of what Kaz said, is quality speaks, right? So we have Amish people that live around here, and there's probably no Amish people listening. I don't really care if they do, but I got nothing against them. But when it comes to butchering, their quality is not there. It is just not there. Some things they do really well. Well, we've known some real slobs too. And some of them, the guy that saws me, he's top notch, real nice guy. His farm's uptight. He's uptight. It's really a good outfit. But they have this thing that they say is, we can do it cheaper. And when it comes to butchering chickens, they can do it cheaper, but it's going to look a lot cheaper. And yeah, they don't handle food the way we do. And, yeah. All right. Andy's saying, I'm almost to the point of processing chicken for others, but I need some practice. Well, you get it, son. You'll get it. All right. Luann says, never asked for permission from the gooberment. You got to think of any office, all right, in the government, all right, dealing with the public. Like, let's say that you work at one of those offices. Let's say you're a new hire at the building department, and somebody calls you up on the phone. You're the only one in the office. It's like lunchtime or whatever. You answer the phone, and they say, "Hey, do I need to get a permit to put footings down for a deck on my building?" And you're thinking to yourself, probably not. But are you going to say that? Are you going to say that? Because if you do, then that individual could come back to the boss there and say, well, he said I didn't need a permit. So to be on the safe side, you say, yep, you sure do need a permit, $29.95, just to be on the safe side. They're not gonna hang it out there for you. But on the other hand, let's say you're going to put new windows in your house. If you call up there and say, hey, do I need a permit to put new windows in my house? Yep, you sure do. But on the other hand, let's say you just slap the new windows in your house. They don't have drones flying around that says, we've got a window changer on aisle 5. They don't. And you didn't ask permission, so you've never got into any kind of agreement that you would. It's private property. Why would you? And let's say the guy's driving by and he sees you out there putting a new window. Hey, you didn't get permission from me. I don't know really how far that would go. All right, so they say, he comes up and says, you really need to get a permit to do that. And you say, well, I ain't gonna. What's his next move? Okay, we're gonna take your firstborn child, and if that don't work, we're gonna take your birthday away, or we're gonna kick you out of your house, or we're gonna tell your mom. What the hell are you gonna do? What are you going to do to me? Well, we'll fine you. You can fine me. I haven't violated any agreement with you. You know. So I don't know how you would deal with that. I don't get permits at all. I did get a hunting license this year, first time in a long time, because you know how I feel about that. It's like I'm on my property. These are wild animals that I'm feeding all summer long. Why do I need permission to shoot one? If I don't if I don't enter into a permitting contract with an agency, then I've made no agreement. Is it illegal to shoot a deer without a license? So how are they gonna? I don't know. But I did this year just because I didn't want any drama. And there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new conservation officer, female, that they say is a real Twatsky. So I didn't want any drama with my kids, and I wanted it to be a stress-free hunt, so I did. I hated to do it, paying money for permission to shoot these animals on my own property. It was just, but a peace of mind of not having to bury a body. Okay, if farmers need help from the subsidies, they are a failing farm. That's it. What? We say subsidies, we should be spitting subsidies. Why should anybody get subsidies? Anybody? Well, my business is failing. Okay, either work harder, work smarter, or go do something else. Well, no, the government should bail me out. Why? Why should they bail you out? Well, because I'm a farmer. So, they won't bail me out. I don't think that should happen. All right. Andy says, only permit in our county is septic to ensure drain field is proper size and far enough from wells. But they don't know where the wells are. Yeah. Well, I think you can determine that on your own. You need an engineer from the state university to tell you, yep, it's 75 feet. I just had this tape measure calibrated, Andy. It's 75 feet. The water tastes like poop. Don't drink it. Well, the engineer came out and he measured it with a specially calibrated. So it must be okay, but even though it tastes like poop, I'm going to drink it now. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be putting on my southern accent just to slam somebody. They sure are dumb, ain't they? All right, I'm going to get going before I say something I shouldn't. So I hope everybody has a really great weekend. I hope we get nice weather tomorrow. We're going to have fun. It's always fun when we get people together. And some feet are longer down here than others. Hey, you know what we did today, Andy? I was thinking of you because all that wood that you brought up, we brought some up and put it in the wood stove just to see what it would smell like. And boys, did that stuff burn hot. There was two different kinds. There was pecan, and I don't remember what the other one was, but I know which ones was the pecan. And boy, that stuff burned hot. It smelled good too. So we're gonna keep some of it for smoking. But we had to get the place cleaned up. Pecan and hickory, right? Yeah, and I know the hickory too. Yeah, we had to get the place cleaned up. And it is amazing when you have a snow cover how much stuff gets under the snow. Just amazing how much stuff. And I don't have my tractor right now. My tractor is in the shop getting fixed, and it sure is not fun trying to operate a place like this with no tractor. It really makes you appreciate that little machine. Okay, I'm going to get going. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Keep your powder dry and fear not. All right, good night.